Attention, small business owner. I always wanted to say that. Hey guys, I want to reintroduce you to a past guest that she's going to enlighten us once again. She came on in season 1, and she talked about how to protect your business from a legal standpoint. And she's actually written a book since we last spoke, and I want her to explain to us what's the book's about, how is it going to help you, and we're going to talk about other stuff from a legal standpoint. So I enjoy this episode because I think as you know, as small business owners, sometimes we get lost and we just want to start getting our word out there and start working with people, etc., etc., and then we lose what's really important in our business, and that is protecting it. And so Cheri Andrews, my guest, is going to enlighten us as to why you want to do that starting now and not wait until later. So this great episode, very informative episode, is going to enlighten you. So check it out.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy. And as I said in the pre-intro, I have a special guest today. I actually have someone who came back from season 1 and who enlightened us in season 1, let's better said, and wants to re-enlighten us in season 2 of this great podcast, Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. And I'm going to step away a little bit from the digital marketing aspects of this show, and I want to talk to you guys as local businesses or small businesses about legal stuff, because that's important. Sometimes it's really important to have that protection, if you will, of your website, of your business. And there's no other person better to discuss that than my good friend Cheri Andrews. Cheri, say hello to everyone, please.
Hello, everyone.
How are you doing, by the way?
I'm great, Frank, and happy to be here. How are you?
You know what? I am peachy, just peachy, because things have been going a little crazy here in the state of New Jersey, and it's been a rough ride the last 12 months, 13 months, if you will, and but things are coming slowly back to normal, and some of the people who I've lost due to this pandemic are coming back slowly but surely, and the people who have gained due to the pandemic are staying. So life's pretty good. I can't complain, but it's still crazy, real crazy.
And it will be for a while yet.
Yeah, that's the truth. So since the last time you were on here, why don't you catch us up with what's going on in Cheri Andrews' world?
So since the last time I was on, a lot of things have happened. My business is building up slowly but surely. I have written a book. It's scheduled to publish on May 18th.
Awesome.
And I'm working on an online education platform that hopefully will launch sometime during the summer.
So tell us about this online education program, and who's it for, and what's the whole premise behind it?
It will be geared to small business owners, and the idea is, similar to my practice and my book, it's to educate business owners about the legal aspects of their business so that they understand going in what kind of problems they could run into, what they should avoid, what they should be paying specific attention to, so that we can keep them out of court and, keep their businesses happy, healthy, and thriving.
Right. Now, the last time you were on, you were talking some really interesting things about the privacy policy and in terms of use. That's very important. That was very key. As a matter of fact, I got a lot of feedback on that, and a lot of people were very enlightened by it. I guess they reached out to their attorneys, et cetera, et cetera. So thanks for that. Now, in terms of, is there anything changed since COVID that we have to be a little bit more aware of, or is it all the same from a protection standpoint?
Nothing has really changed strictly because of COVID.
Hmm.
There are, so what I want to say, just nuances in terms of so many more businesses have gone online and so much more is happening in the digital world now that we've brought in a lot of new players who maybe don't understand all the rules. And, you have to be careful because even though you'd think, oh, there's so many more people online, it's harder to get caught doing things that are um, in violation of regulations, it's actually getting easier to get caught.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I can see that. I can actually see that. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so now when you say legally protect your business, can you shed some more light into that? Because I think a lot of people have a different view of that, of what that is.
Okay, so for me, legally protected means you have determined whether you should have a separate legal entity for your business. And so instead of being a sole proprietor or partnership, maybe you're looking into being a single member or multi member LLC for the liability protection that affords. It means you're using contracts and well drafted contracts, not stuff that you've cobbled together
Right.
from the internet or your friends, but well drafted contracts that help you mitigate risk. It means that you are using the appropriate policies and procedures that you need to be compliant with regulations that are applicable to your business. And it means that you're paying attention to intellectual property, copyright, trademark, both yours and others. So you're protecting your own intellectual property, but you're making sure you're not infringing on other people's. And all of that is kind of like just one big ball of things that go into making sure your business is legally protected.
So intellectual properties, like say a trademark or registered name of or process. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So uh, going back, I want to say hmm, maybe 11 years ago now, I tried to trademark the saying, um, 7 steps to recession proofing your business process. I tried to trademark that process. And that was such a difficult process that I stopped doing it. It was so many things that they were asking for. And I was so busy back then. And I was like, well, do I really want to trademark this? Well, why is it so difficult to do stuff like that? I mean, because that was something that's how I wrote my book, but I wanted to trademark the actual process. And I never got a chance to do that. That's why the TM isn't next to any of the stuff that I have. But tell me more about why is it so difficult? I mean, what is there a smoother way of doing it? Did I go about it the wrong way? I didn't know
um,
Cheri Andrews back then, so maybe that was my problem.
so let me start by saying that in the trademark world, the USPTO has what they consider strong trademarks and weak trademarks. And
Right.
a strong trademark is typically um, a made up or fanciful word. So it's easy. You can see it in things like Google and Bing.
Right.
Those names don't have any meaning until they become advertised enough that they're associated with that product or service. And
Gotcha.
that's when they become eligible for trademark. Um, when you're talking about trademarking something like 7 steps to, the USPTO is going to consider that a weak trademark because it's purely descriptive. Um,
Mm.
and so they're going to give you, yeah, a lot of headache about it because the point of trademark is that whatever you're trademarking, it's supposed to act in the public as a way of clearly identifying you, Frank Deming, the the business guy
The local
as
business guy.
a local business guy as the source of that service or product.
Right.
And so if that title didn't clearly identify you as the source in the minds of consumers, then it's less likely to be eligible for trademark protection.
Okay. So in your estimation, I did good by just giving it up?
Not knowing enough about it to really answer that question, I'm going to say I would imagine you would have had an uphill climb getting it through.
Okay. Yeah, it was just costing me way too much money for what it was worth, so I just stopped. So
Yeah.
and here we are today with no trademark. But that's okay. Um so let me ask you a question, because I think most of our questions last show, and I'll put a link on the show notes of our um last year's show, so that everybody can go back to that. But most of it was geared towards not entrepreneur, well, business owners who are established, and are they legally protected correctly, and this and that. What is the big? Let's focus on new entrepreneurs, because as of now, I mean, I think so. Just like anytime there's an economic downturn, it always spearheads new entrepreneurs. So just for those folks who are new entrepreneurs, what is the biggest mistake a new entrepreneur can make when it comes to, like, a, say, legal protection?
There's so many, it's almost impossible to know where to start. But
We have like two
the,
shows for that.
the single biggest mistake I'm going to say is
Okay.
not having legal protection. So it's not setting yourself up as an LLC, because if you are operating as a sole proprietor or a partnership, you are the business and you are liable for all the debts. You are personally liable for all the debts and obligations of the business, which means if you were sued or if you owed creditors, they could come after your home, your bank accounts, your car, all of your personal assets. And so that's the main reason for setting up that LLC. And the second thing is not using contracts. I mean, I see so many new business owners who are doing their business on, a handshake and a verbal agreement, and you can't prove verbal agreements in court. It just doesn't fly. So if you end up in trouble, you have a really hard time proving your case. Whereas you could set out all the terms of a contract plus legal protections about when and how you get sued if you have a solid contract.
I'm glad you said that, because you mentioned that last time as well. And since then, I think I told you most of my contracts, if you will, were only on the long term projects that we had. Like if I had an SEO thing, that's a long term project. That's a 12-month project, so I would have a contract. But if I had like just a short little lead generation thing that's only 3 months, I would never have it. Or if I had some kind of hosting maintenance thing, I would never have a contract. That's just, we're just maintaining the website, no big deal. But then you scared me when you said that last time, and now you're saying it again. But there are some people who believe if you're testing something, um, then why have why slow down the process with a contract? Why not just, hey, this is just a test? Like, for instance, a lot of my lead generation things are just tests, because I honestly do not know if it's a new entity. Let's say it's a new niche. If it's an attorney, if it's a dentist, if it's a chiropractor, I've got that down pack. I know it's going to work. But if it's a new obscure niche, like um, an oral surgeon, let's say, I'm not sure how many people are actually out looking for oral surgeon, or are they all referral based? So it may not be the right fit for them. So if I want to test something from that niche, I typically do not have a contract. And I'm actually asking you that now because I'm in the midst of doing this. So this is a perfect timing. I should I have one? I mean, even after our last call, I don't have it because I don't want to say, hey, I need you to do this for 3 months. Because if it's not working after the first 2 months and they want to end it, they end it, and that's fine because it's not working. It's not something that I know that's going to work. What do you say about that?
I say that a contract, it doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be onerous, but it would set out the expectations. The contract could actually say, this is a test process. We aren't guaranteeing any specific results. And, if it's not working out, either party has the right to pull out of this under these terms and conditions. So you can cover those kind of things so that if it does go south and it's just not working and they're pissed off about paying you so much money when they didn't get the results they were looking for, you can say, hey, look, the contract said we don't guarantee any results. And the contract said you can get out, and, you can set forth if you have a refund policy, if you want to make sure that if they're unhappy, you're going to go to mediation instead of into court. All of that can be baked into the contract, and it can still be just a couple pages long. It doesn't have to be any big scary thing.
Yeah, my contract is just actually just a page and a half. Well, it depends on which one. If it's the PPC, uh it's just a one pager, but if it's SEO, it's a page and a half. So they all vary. But yeah, I don't know. So basically what you're suggesting is stop doing that. Just get the contract done. And
From a legal perspective, and knowing the kind of risks you face and the kind of risks you can avoid by having a contract in place, I would be remiss to not suggest that you have the contract in place.
right.
I
Gotcha.
know it can save you a lot of heartache down the road.
Now, thank you for that. A lot of clients of mine and a lot of my listeners have gone online now for the first time, are now doing more online stuff. They're doing, virtual meetings. They're doing a lot of stuff that's, not normal to them. I mean, it's normal to me because I've been doing this stuff since GoToMeeting back in the day, which a lot of people don't use now, but I switched from GoToMeeting to Zoom in 2015. But is there anything from a legal standpoint now that they are now virtually connecting? Um, is there anything from a legal standpoint that these company these I'll give an example. I have a client of mine who now, because of COVID, and I'm not sure if they ever went back to court, but now a lot of their court sessions were virtual, which was quite interesting. Um, and so, I mean, I know everything is now electronic and all of that. Is there anything that has to change in their legal protection that we can say, oh, now that things are changed, make sure that you're protected in this way as well, not just in a physical way?
So I'm going to come at this from a very legal standpoint because I know you have lawyers as clients.
Yes.
Um, as lawyers, we have to meet certain criteria and standards for um, maintaining client confidentiality and making sure things don't end up out in the world.
Right.
And so, um, if you're taking your practice virtual and you're meeting with your clients via Zoom, number one, you want to make sure they know if you're recording it for any reason. And you want to make sure that that's being protected and not getting out in the world. Um, Number two, however you're passing back and forth documents, you want to make sure they're encrypted. So, like, I personally use a software that is designed for attorneys where everything ends up in the client portal. And if they want to see a document or send me a document, it goes through the client portal where it's all super, safe and encrypted and all the security measures to keep it from getting out in the world.
Right.
And so, other clients that you have, other listeners may not have that level of um, sensitivity around the things they're doing, but you do want to make sure that you're watching out for protecting other people's privacy, protecting their security, how you're handling, credit card transactions, for example, and making sure that that is on a secure platform and, that their credit card information isn't being passed around the world. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of it flies into security and privacy. And I could get into, again, privacy policy in terms of use, but you can refer people back to the notes from the last one
Yeah.
for that stuff.
Yeah, that was awesome. So a lot of stuff that's popping up now too, and maybe it's me that's is new to me, but I've just been seeing it now lately ever since COVID is all these like these virtual doctors, like they give you some virtual diagnosis. Have you seen this? Have
I know it is becoming more and more popular. I do know that the doctors that are doing that have to go through very specific platforms again for privacy and security
right?
reasons, HIPAA violations, all that kind of stuff. I have had zero experience with it myself, and
Yeah.
I cannot imagine how a doctor is supposed to diagnose an ear infection if they can't look in your ear. But, then that's just me. So, um,
Yeah, yeah, it was so weird to me when I saw that, and again, maybe I'm just coming late to the game, and it's possible, but man, I was like, what?
well, I think it shows my age to say, like, I don't know how a doctor's going to diagnose anything if they can't see me. So, I mean,
Yeah,
and I mean, see me in person, not
yeah,
through a Zoom meeting. I suppose if you had, poison ivy rash on your arm, you could hold up your arm and the doctor could see it and go, yeah, okay, well, call in a prescription for a cortisone cream or whatever. But beyond that, I have a hard time imagining it. They can't look down your throat. They can't look in your ears. So, you know, how are they
yeah,
diagnosing anything?
yeah. That's kind of weird. That's I don't know how much that's going to evolve as we go forward, but I just wanted to mention that that must be a legal nightmare. You probably don't even want to take on a client like that. Uh,
Not well versed in that area. I would probably refer that one out.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Just wanted to bring it up. But I really do want you mentioned earlier when we first started talking, you talked about your book. I want to really hone in on that book. Because I have two questions about it, and then you could just knock it out the park from there. A, what's the book about? And B, who is it targeted towards?
Okay. The book is broadly about providing education for small business owners so that they can ensure that their business is legally protected, that they themselves are legally protected, and that they're compliant with a lot of the regulations and laws out there that they might not even be aware exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of very practical advice, from the simplest thing like not using images on your website or your social media that um, you didn't take yourself or that you haven't paid for a license for. A lot of people go on the internet, they think it's all fair game. They pull it down, they put it on their website, and 3 months later, they're getting a letter that looks a whole lot like spam that says, hey, you owe us money for putting this image on your website.
Yeah.
And they come to find out it's not spam, it's real. There are companies out there whose job is to protect photographers and to um, basically scour the internet looking for the unauthorized use of the images that those photographers have created. And that's one of those places where I tell you it's becoming easier to get caught as
Yeah.
the technology, the AI technology grows and expands for looking for instances of infringement. It's easier to find and it's easier to tag people. So, I say either pay for a stock photo, take the photo yourself, or put the information up without a photo until you have time to take one.
And this book
Um,
covers issues like that.
the book covers issues that are just that simple, to obviously the more extensive things like what type of business entity is appropriate for you and when, um, and a lot more into the copyright and trademark issues. Um, and The reason that I wrote it is because I became frustrated with the limitations of my Pennsylvania license. This is information that every small business owner should have.
Right.
I mean, it should almost be like this course that you get when you want to start your own business and you learn about marketing and you learn about websites and you learn about what it's like to take on all of the hats. You're now the CEO and the secretary and the janitor of your company because
That's
there's
right.
nobody, you start out, it's just you, there's nobody else. So when you're doing it all, here's all these things you need to be aware of, and legal is a chunk of it. And
Hmm.
so I wanted to make that information available at an affordable price to all small business owners. I know a lot of small business owners, they don't talk to an attorney because they find the process intimidating. They think it's going to cost too much. They think it can wait till their business is bigger, and they put themselves at risk when there's no need to. So I'm hoping that the book will give them the basic information so that they know when they really do need to talk to an attorney,
Yeah.
and what things they should be thinking about as they start their business. And even for those who have been in business for years, if they're growing, if they're pivoting, if they just want to do a check and say, did I get it all right in the beginning, or is there something I'm missing?
Yeah. And I forgot to ask you, what's the title of the book?
It's called Smooth Sailing, a practical guide to legally protecting your business.
Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Now you mentioned small businesses, and that's a very broad term. Is there any particular small business? Like, what's small business to you? Is it a revenue base? Is it number of employees? How do you define small business?
So for me, the book is really geared to solopreneurs, creatives, and businesses that have 25 or less employees.
Mm,
Um, it's, I almost want to say micro businesses because the SBA defines small business a lot more broadly than I do in terms
hmm.
of, up to 50 employees and up to way, way more revenues than, I'm thinking of, than the people that this book is really geared to. I mean, if your business is making, seven figures a year, you can probably afford an attorney, and the book isn't as critical when you're in that startup phase where you're losing money or you're barely making anything, or even to the point where you're starting to hit six figures. This book is really important because a lot of those people just do not have the budget,
Yeah. But
for
budget or know-how. They don't.
right.
I mean, they don't have a clue. I mean, look at me. So I can attest. Okay, well that's awesome. And you said it releases in when?
May 18th.
May 18th. Okay. So so if you're listening to this and it's past May 18th, um I will make sure that you have a link to it. I will update the episode and put a link to the book so you guys can check it out.
Actually, I
Um,
can give you the link now because it's available for pre-order.
ah,
Yeah.
thank you. So scratch what I just said. Uh, so I will put the link on the show notes now, and you can have a pre-order since we'll be this will be aired before the 18th of May. So that's a good thing. So I just as a random question here. The book so what inspired you is because you said you wanted to reach people outside of your jurisdiction, obviously, and that's a good thing. Um, so how do you plan on doing it? What's your, as a marketer, I have to ask you, what's your marketing plan?
So I have a fantastic publisher. I think you know
Okay.
her. Her name is Deborah Keevan, Highlander Press, and we are putting together an entire launch for May 18th that will be all over Facebook, and lots of things happening that day. I have a launch team getting ready to go, and so it's really about spreading the word as far and wide as I can on May 18th and afterwards. And then it's about doing things like I'm doing with you right now, Frank, which is, getting the speaking engagements, telling people why I'm out here, evangelizing, if you will, about small business and the importance of, being aware of the legal aspects of your small business. After the pandemic, I mean, you said it too. Um, as we come out of this pandemic, small business is going to pick back up. And for all of those people who lost corporate jobs, big corporate jobs, small business becomes an option, a choice. And a lot of people end up making that choice either because they've always wanted to and now they have the availability to do that because they lost their job in the pandemic and, nothing else is going on right now, so they might as
Mm-hmm.
well, or because they tried to find another corporate job and they're just having no luck at all,
Right.
and so they're turning to small business and entrepreneurship as I don't know what else to do, I'm kind of stuck here. No matter how you get there, small business is the backbone of this country, and it is going to become bigger because of the fallout from the pandemic. And I want to make sure all of those people coming into this are coming into it with the knowledge to
Right.
protect themselves.
Wow. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. I don't know if you had a crystal ball and you dreamt this up, but if you didn't, then you just have good timing. Because yeah, this is needed now, very 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 much so. So I applaud you for stepping it up and getting it out there. So yeah, very very I can't, I'm chomping at the butts to read it, and I've been in business for 14 years. So
The other thing I will say about the book, I tried very intentionally to not make this like any other legal book on the market.
okay.
This book is conversational, it's written in plain English. Um, I'm hoping that most people will find it's actually an enjoyable read, not something that they have to slog through. Um,
So you don't have an
so,
appendices in the back with all the legal jargon description.
um, I do have an appendix, but what it is a listing of all of the different acronyms that are used in the book. Because when I start talking about USPTO, rather than you having to go back to the first time I mentioned it in the book, there's an appendix in the back that'll tell you that's the US Patent and
Patent
Trademark
and
Office.
trademark office. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know them all too well because I spent a lot of time there when I was down in DC trying to get my trademark thing. But yeah, they're down in Alexandria, Virginia. Actually, I know the building very well. All right, awesome. Well, thanks a lot. Is there anything that I did not ask that you think will benefit the audience before I let you go?
Um, Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'm thinking we pretty much covered it all, Frank. You did a great job of drawing out a lot more information than I honestly thought we were going to get through. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. And I really feel like I've said enough about the book for people to know whether it's something they're interested in or not. I'm hoping that every small business out there um, either buys it, borrows it, or somehow gets their hands on it to read it.
Right. All right. So how do people get a hold of you, Cheri? What's the, you have a
Um,
website? Do you have an email address? What do you want to do?
I'm going to point you to my website, which is my name. It's cheriandrews.com. That's CHERI Andrews.com.
Mm-hmm.
And all the information about my business, my services, even my prices, because I am probably the most transparent attorney you're ever going to want to meet, is
Oh
on my
yeah.
website. Information about the book is on my website. And from there, you can also sign up for my newsletter. And the one other place you can find me is on Facebook, and I have a Facebook group called Let's Talk Legal. That is, again, a resource for small business owners to come together in a community of like minded people who just want to be aware of, aspects of their small business. And I offer information, education, and fun stuff too. Like we have days on Let's Talk Legal, where it's just fun, silly things that we do to help get to know each other.
That's awesome. I like that group. I think I'm a member of that group, and it's very insightful. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of information from it, so I definitely recommend it. So, anywho, thanks a lot, Cheri. It's been a pleasure having you back on the show. Much success with the book. Sounds like a great book. I think I'm going to order my own copy soon here, whenever it comes available. Well, I'll put myself on the list for the early adopter. How's that?
And, there we go.
And I'll definitely add it to my my books, my list of books there. So, with that, folks, I am going to bid farewell to this episode. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy. You've just been blessed by the great Cheri Andrews. So until next week, take care, folks, and bye for now. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.